What's going on, everybody? Russell Clay back again for another episode of Clay's Corner. Today, we're going to be looking at four players I am potentially buying in Dynasty leagues. Now, I do a Dynasty Watch article every week, and I do cover some deep waiver wire buys and some lower end players. But today, we're going to be looking at four players that aren't necessarily cheap, but I do think are either devalued or are going to be devalued. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Look who it is, Noah Fant. If you are seeing this name and you're getting a fantasy related reaction for 2021, it's probably not a good one. Fant has not really provided the upside we want in a, eighth round, ninth round, seventh round tight end pick that he was in season long leagues, just 24 years old. But if you look at this production, early in the season, he was at least getting the role, but Albert Okwuegbunam is having a bigger impact on Noah Fant than I expected, as is Jerry Jeudy. So we're looking at this stretch, the stretch where he was playing 90% of the snaps and getting 10 and 11 targets. That's when Albert O and Jeudy were both on IR. Then you see Okwuegbunam come back, and then you see Jeudy come back, and we're seeing this limited upside. Now, I don't necessarily think this is a function of Fant as a talent. We've already seen Fant produce. He had a really nice second season, 673 receiving yards. And also had a great rookie year with 550 receiving yards. So this third season of not really seeing much target volume, not building on last year, smells like Teddy Bridgewater to me, if I'm being honest. And that is my current read. You see that 8.7 yards per reception. Fant has been mostly healthy this year. He's got nicked up here and there, but I still heavily believe in the talent here. I know we are supposed to value what the coaches are doing with these players on the field, and I think that is something we should do. But also, when a player has shown talent on the field before and showed fantasy relevance, I think we need to value that accordingly. So either Fant spends one more year in Denver and leaves, or Denver gets Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers in 2022, and it is full sail ahead for Fant to fantasy goodness. So this is a speculative buy for me as soon as the off season hits. I think the owners in their dynasty leagues are going to be not enthused with what they got out of Fant. You don't really want to be sitting a guy that you spent as much as you did on Fant. So this is a guy I'm actually looking to acquire right now that most people are probably just thinking, oh, this guy isn't very good. I still believe in him. So I'm buying. Speaking of a guy I still believe in, Trevor Lawrence has been quite disappointing in his rookie year, especially for my standards, but even for those that weren't quite as high, it has been really ugly. Now, I do harp on the idea that his supporting cast has been incredibly ugly this year. At this stage in the year, Laquan Treadwell and Tavon Austin are his main outside wide receivers, which is startling to say the least. Also have Laviska Shenault there. Not really doing much. Not really sure what that is about, but that is something. Not necessarily buying Shenault right now. That has been not going great, even putting him in the slot. But back to Lawrence, he's quit it with the turnovers. He's not making a lot of mistakes right now, at least from a turnover worthy standpoint. But I mean, he is just not producing. Even with the supporting cast, I kind of marked him down for figuring it out. Even as a rookie, he has not done that. He has not produced or really shown us that number one overall pick upside. However, he a lot of these quarterbacks, we can look at Mac Jones, we can look at some of the other quarterbacks that have come in the last couple of years. These guys get the rookie mode on Madden type settings. And Lawrence has stepped in from day one and gotten the all Madden. You know what I'm saying? If you've ever played a video game, you know the difference between playing on rookie and playing on all Madden against the computer. That's what we're dealing with here. So our job as evaluators is to say, okay, Trevor Lawrence versus Mac Jones. Long term, I'm still much higher on Trevor Lawrence. I feel like there's a much higher ceiling. And I still believe that actually compared to most quarterbacks in the NFL, I still think Trevor Lawrence has much more upside than all of them. But what we're seeing right now is him learn on the job and learn the hard way, because he is making a ton of mistakes and trying to learn from them. It's a trial and error. I've watched just about every snap from his 2021 season, and it has been brutal. But it's not all his fault. And I think he can definitely develop. Now, if you're not enthused about Trevor Lawrence or weren't at the beginning, and you're saying, Russ, I don't really want to buy Trevor Lawrence right now. After what we've seen, I wasn't that high on him to begin with. Totally get it. Totally get it. However, he was a high conviction evaluation for me, and I am still going with my read here. It's like these are pocket aces. Trevor Lawrence's pocket aces. We didn't even get a bad flop. We got a bad first card. And people are beginning to question if he's even going to be a long-term answer at quarterback. I am not doing that. I still have the highest of convictions. They're going to get some better weapons in their next year. Travis Etienne's going to be back and really providing a huge boost in the intermediate part of the field. But this is a great opportunity to buy low in Superflex. I do think people will be willing to sell this offseason. I think even people with mediocre conviction on Lawrence as a prospect might be willing to roll the dice on a package you're throwing their way. So especially in one quarterback leagues, but also in two quarterback leagues, Superflex leagues, I am buying Trevor Lawrence at market value. I think he's coming at a really nice discount right now. So there you go. And the last two, I just mentioned Travis Etienne, but J.K. Dobbins, it is the same deal here. Actually, I think despite, Etienne being in a different draft class, Dobbins and Etienne are the same age. We got to see what Dobbins looked like in that Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens offense. And we're going to get to see that again in 2022. Nobody on this Baltimore Ravens running back depth chart is really sticking out here. We got Devontae Freeman looking decent, but he's not going to be a long-term fix here. Gus Edwards out for the year. We'll see what they do with him. But Dobbins, I'm pretty locked in on him being a buy for next year. It's pretty fluky injury. Played 15 games as a rookie and didn't have any injury issues. Had a very prolific career at Ohio State with no injury issues. Maybe he's a guy that gets to the NFL and runs into major problems, but it was a fluky play in the preseason. He showed great upside in year one. And he's a guy that can be a real game changer heading into 2022. And I don't think you're necessarily going to have to pay those prices early in the offseason. By the end of next offseason, we're going to be right back to where we were last offseason. At the end, heading up into the 2021 season, he's going to shift right back into that price. Once people see him on the practice field, once people realize he's back and there's no real guy that stole a spot, J.K. Dobbins is in for a nice little bump in value here, especially with some of these veterans, these 2017 running backs really kind of falling off here from an injury standpoint. People are going to be looking for who the next guy is. And at the very least, the hype is going to get behind J.K. Dobbins again. I'm very confident in that. And I would have been buying this before the trade deadline in your dynasty leagues, but I still think early offseason, we're going to be able to snag him again at a decent discount. So if you haven't checked out J.K. Dobbins from a prospect profile standpoint, pretty special guy and better than anybody in this upcoming 2022 class. I mean, him and Breece Hall are pretty close, but Dobbins versus the best running back in the 2022 class is really close. So keep in mind there. And as I mentioned, Travis Etienne, really special guy, really special prospect out of Clemson. I mean, his final season was electric. His final, 2 seasons from a receiving profile standpoint were incredible. Always high efficiency, bringing huge plays to the table. Buying Lawrence, buying Etienne, Urban Meyer continues to cause chaos, but I actually like some of the stuff they did and are doing this year from a strategy standpoint. They just do not have the personnel to pull it off right now. So Etienne next year, I really could see thriving as a Alvin Kamara light type. I'm not going to compare anyone to Alvin Kamara, but if there is an Alvin Kamara, it is Travis Etienne. He's just going to be 23 years old next year, and I think we're looking at a potentially special player. I'm not really worried about James Robinson, especially with how they treated them this year, even without Etienne there. So Etienne's role is going to be his own as a weapon. And I think we could see some very high-end PPR production from him right from the get-go. So if he can stay healthy, which he had no problems doing that in college, never really had any injuries at all. So him and Dobbins, real bummer. But I am buying both of those guys right now. If you can get them, it's always hard to get running backs that provide value over multiple years. These are 2 guys I think that can do it. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. As always, if you like this video, thank you for tuning in and checking out the article. As I always mention, there are prospect rankings below. That we got the 2022 draft just coming up in 5-6 months from now. So get ready for that. Get your research in. I gave you some good platforms to look at that with the rookie drafts and rookie rankings. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week.